She's an all-around team player. One thing that people don't see, I mean, you can look at the stats, the points, the rebounds, but she leads us in assists too. She leads us in block shots too. All these little things that people don't always see, that's what makes Cam. That's why we are where we're at.
No matter how hard you work, no matter the little things you do on the bench, whether it's high fives or picking up another teammate, just to win that award, to me it's not you're the best basketball player in the state of Michigan. It's you did all the little things to be noticed by the right people.
Dakota senior Cameron Grant has been one of the top players in Metro Detroit for the last 4 years. Now she's in line to potentially be named the top girls basketball player in the state. And that's a Duff said. It is so good to be back on your favorite listening device of choice, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Duff Tyler, and this is episode 27 of A Duff Said. Now, if you're listening to this on Podbean, I welcome you to become a new subscriber to the show. That way, you'll be one of the first to know when a new episode has dropped. There is no fee to download or use Podbean, so go ahead and add that to your favorite listening device of choice. And if you're listening to this show on YouTube, please subscribe to my page, Duff Tyler. I'm always adding new content there as well. You can always like me on Facebook. My page is Sports Journalist Duff Tyler. And follow me on Twitter, wait for it, at Duff Tyler. This week, I sat down with Dakota High School senior Cam Grant. Now, Cam is averaging 14 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 block shots per game this season for the Cougar girls basketball team. Now, she has been that kind of all-around great player for the Cougars in her 4 years with them. It's why Dakota has won more games in the last 4 seasons than any other time in the history of the program. Now, Dakota has always been a powerhouse when it comes to girls basketball. If you don't believe me, just walk around their gym sometime. You'll see all the young women that have won McCone Area Conference awards. You'll see the ones that were named the top player in McCone County. You'll even see some that have been named as all-state selections. So for Cam to lead the Cougars to 66 wins in her time there is pretty remarkable. It's why her name has been listed as a candidate this year for Miss Basketball in the state of Michigan. Dakota is 16-4 this season. They're heading into a crowded field of great teams in their district. The Cougars take on Anchor Bay Monday night in the district opener. A little bit later, I will talk about that and Cam's success with Dakota head coach Phil McCune. But first, I spoke with Cam about all that she has accomplished in her time at Dakota, and we'll look ahead to her future. Cam will be attending Ball State University in the fall as a new member of the Cardinals women's basketball team, so I decided to test her knowledge of the state of Indiana, where she'll be calling home for the next 4 years as an adopted Hoosier. My conversation with Cam Grant starts now. Now, you always want to have a great night on senior night. That's the game where you want to have a great impression in your final game at home. But you went out and you had a huge night on Tuesday against Rochester Hills Stony Creek. 21 points, 22 rebounds. That tied a school record. First off, tell me what your thoughts and emotions were just going into that night.
Yeah, senior night, being a 4-year varsity player, I've seen all the different girls come through, and senior night I thought, oh yeah, I got so much time before I get here, and it was always sad for me to go through it because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my sisters, I'm losing people I see every day, and now to be in that position, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like a new stage of my life. And I was actually happy going through the night, which I wasn't expecting. It didn't really hit me yet till I finally got down and kissed the floor. I'm like, wow, this is it, and my adrenaline was up, and I was actually it was one of those proud to be a Cougar moments, I think. So.
Yeah, just take me through that whole range of emotions that you were going through. That was the last time that you'll probably get to play on this floor. What was that like as you took those final steps off the court?
One thing that I noticed is all the girls got up and they immediately went to just give me a big, great hug. And that's one thing I haven't really seen in the past years is everyone just so happy for you that you were here. You know, I think that when I came off the floor, first thing I did is give Coach Phil a big hug, and it's kind of like a bear hug, like, oh my gosh, I did it, I went through this, and just to end on a great note. And just all the girls were so supportive towards me that I couldn't believe it, honestly.
And looking at the stat sheet that night, 21 points, 22 boards. Did you ever imagine that would be the stats that you would put up in your final home game?
Oh, no. I didn't think that at all. I mean, when I went out there and my parents looked at me and they go, wow, you know, I think you had a lot of rebounds tonight. And I go, really? I don't know. I think it probably had like maybe 8 or something like that. And I go, no, I think you really had a lot. I looked at the stat sheet and I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about my stats going out. You know, I just thought I'm just going to play for my team tonight and I'm just going to enjoy this night because I know it's my last. So I was just really shocked by that.
Now, you have been a starter at Dakota since your freshman year. And in that time, this program has won 66 games. Doesn't even seem real, does it?
I look back and I try to think of just all the wins, and they all kind of mesh together to me as just this fuzzy feeling inside. You know, I look back to my freshman year, and it feels like such a long time ago, but just I get the same feeling every time we win a game here, and I think that, you know, deep inside I really don't want to leave that, but I know that I got to move on.
As we were getting ready to do this interview, I was in the hallways around the gym, and I saw all the Dakota players that have come through this program, so many of them that won accolades like All-State and Macomb County Player of the Year, so many grand players that have come through this program, but you are the only one that has had that kind of run with 66 wins under your belt since you've been a part of this program. You have been called the winningest player in Dakota history by your head coach. What does it mean to you to have that title?
Well, when we first decided to go to Dakota, immediately I knew that Dakota's a winning school. You know, everybody doesn't like Dakota because we win. And no matter...
Haters going to hate.
Exactly. You're perfectly right on that. And no matter what district you're in, no matter whose team you're playing, Dakota comes out on top. And, of course, I was expecting to win games, but I just put my head down. I worked really hard, and you know, as we came together as teams and won all these games, I honestly can't believe that it's 66 wins, and I look back on it, and I look back at my hard work, and I'm like, you know what, it is 66 games because of all the work that I put in. So I'm just proud to be a part of that and always have that to look back on.
Now, was Dakota a school that you just lived in the district, or was that a school of choice decision to come here?
So it was a school choice decision. We had problems with going to different other schools, and it was late August, and we didn't really know where we were going to go. And I remember Coach Phil going to my dad's basketball facility because he had teams go and he would watch in the summer. And we would just remember him always being around when I was younger, and we said, hey, why not Dakota? You know, we really didn't put it into our minds that, you know, this is a place where I can go to high school, and it was kind of like a last-minute decision, and I've been happy with that decision ever since. So.
You knew about the traditions here at Dakota, but when you were a freshman, did you ever imagine that you would be a starter on the basketball team right away?
Right away, no. I knew I definitely had to earn it. I remember in the summer camp I was in, we went to Saginaw Valley, and once I stepped on the floor, it's always a different feel because, you know, when you're 6'1", playing 7th and 8th grade basketball, and you know you're dominating, it's kind of like, oh, you know, like I could go out and I could play high school ball, but then automatically it changes and you have to adjust so quickly that if I didn't go to that summer camp, I wouldn't have adjusted the way I did before I came out and played my first game. So.
You've talked about Coach Phil McCune a few times already. When he came up to you and told you that you were going to get that starting role as a freshman, what was that conversation like?
I remember him telling me on the spot, you know, we need you to step up and you're going to start for us. And then I kind of looked at my team and I realized, oh my gosh, there's 8 seniors on this team. I don't know how they're going to handle it. And I remember starting and everybody was there just supporting me all the way, and they were happy for me as a freshman. You know, they didn't even look at me as a freshman, and to this day, they still think that I'm the same age as them, going out and doing different things. But I never felt that freshman hate, you know, when you come in and a lot of the girls say, oh my gosh, you're a freshman, blah, blah, blah. It was never like that. It was always supportive, and I think that's why we won so many games my freshman years, because there was none of that shame freshman role. It was always just the team feel.
You just had big sisters, that's all.
Yeah, really it was. It was big sisters.
And how did you fit in with them so quickly?
You know, my dad, when I was about, I think, 10 years old, he put an AAU team together with all high school girls, and some would be from Dakota, Eisenhower, Romeo, all different girls, and I always kind of had those like big sisters growing up, and when I came in here, I felt that same kind of vibe as everyone's here is trying to lift you up instead of, you know, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get mine. So I think that, you know, that's why we've been so successful.
You've had a lot of successful players that you were able to look up to for advice and to be role models and to have those big sisters like we talked about. But from the moment you've been on the floor for this program, you have set a number of school records, and you have become one of the most dominant players in not just Macomb County, but really the Metro Detroit area as well. And even though there's still some time left at Dakota, what has this last 4-year period been like for you?
Honestly, I think when you're in middle school, you kind of think of what high school is going to be like. And sports was always that thing for me. And I never thought of going out and not just being a great high school team, being a team that goes and everyone in the state is either afraid to play us or goes out there and says, are you kidding me? We're playing Dakota. You know, I never thought that in my mind. I thought, you know, oh, it's just a high school game and I'm just going to go out there and it's just going to be regular girls basketball. But I think we've really transitioned the program to be, you know, Dakota works hard, and you know if you don't come out and play your best game that you're not going to come out and beat us. So I really think that, you know, that's why it makes Dakota so great, because we just go out there with that fire.
Someday you're going to come back to these same halls, and you're going to see your picture up there on the wall. Have you got that picture picked out yet?
No, I do not. I need to sit down and maybe think of or look at some good senior pictures, but I never thought I'd be picking out a picture to put on that wall. You know, I always thought it would be a state championship banner first, but we still have time to make that happen.
Got one more shot at that, and I wish you all the best with that. But I want to talk about something that you've also had to go through. You went through some adversity last year with the ankle injury. First, take me through that. How did that happen?
Well, I was out there playing, and I went up, I believe, for a rebound, and when I just came down, my ankles just aren't very strong in general, and when I came down, I just felt the side of my ankle hit the floor, and I knew it wasn't good, and they took me back, and found out that I tore all my ligaments in my right ankle, and that my left one wasn't so great too, that there's some torn in there just from previous times, and I just had to make it stronger. So immediately, I think it was a week later, I'm in therapy, and I got back to play in my district game for that time. It was upsetting because we lost, just because we had some other injuries that came up at the last second with other players, but it really just gave me a good lesson of if you push back, you can make it in time. Because when I went in there, the doctor said, hey, look, you know, you're out for the season. Sorry to break it to you. And I came back, and I said, no way I'm going to be out for the season. I'm going to be healthy by the time that comes by.
You know, I was just going to ask you, how did you take that news? But you pretty much took that right away from me. You were determined to get right back out there as soon as possible. Take me through the rehab process. What was that like in order to get that strength back in your ankle?
Yeah, one thing that I've always been concerned about, and my dad's always pushed me in, is to stay in shape. So immediately when I got hurt, the one thing I always do to stay in shape is run. And so it was a lot of doing extra things, like, you know, using the arm bike to try to stay in shape, and then it was a lot of stability and not relying on your ankle brace. It's just, you know, it's your foot, it's your ankle that you got to get better. So whether it's weights or resistance, it all just finally came down to pushing myself and being ready for the moments of getting hit as hard as possible again. So.
And now you came back for your senior year, and you went out to set a school record in blocks. Was that something that you'd always hoped that you could accomplish, or was that something that just sort of happened on its own?
I think it kind of happened on his own. I remember when I was younger, I was always taller than the other girls, and it was easy for me to block those shots. You know, it was just one thing that I was always good at. And coming into Dakota in high school, I never thought I would break the block record. To find out I was really close to it, I'm like, really? You know, it's something I really invested my time into. And I told my dad, he goes, "Oh, it's crazy. I guess you're just like your dad," because he broke the block record when he was at Clintondale. So I guess it's just a generation family thing. But
Yeah, what was it like when you got to tell him the news? Was he in the stands when you set the record?
yeah, he was in the stands, and I remember that block, and I asked my parents, I said, "Did you see which block?" You know, and my dad goes, "Yep, as soon as you did," I said, "Yep, she has the record, my girl." That's what he told me, so he was very proud of me. So.
Now, I haven't seen it. I don't know what game that happened in. Do you know who it was that you got it against?
I was against Port Huron. Yeah, one thing with blocks that I noticed is if you try to block somebody's shot, you're going to get foul called on you. So for me, it was always in the back of my head because winning comes first, always, even if you're trying to break a record. And I remember I saw the ball, and I'm like, yep, I'm going to break the record, and I blocked it. And it was just one of those proud moments in my head that is like, all right, that was awesome, that was great. You get to celebrate after the game's over, but now it's back to trying to go out there and win. So.
Well, I hope someday when someone's playing Dakota Sports Trivia, they remember that moment, and and that's a question that they ask. But getting back to what you've accomplished here at Dakota, you know, the last 4 years have not gone unnoticed by the rest of the media here in the state. Your name has consistently throughout the entire season been thrown out for contention for Miss Basketball. First, what does it mean to you just to hear your name mentioned with some of those great players here in the state of Michigan?
Well, when I was growing up, we kind of talked about my dad and running the AAU program, and we would go to tournaments, and my mom would be like, "Cameron, you see that girl over there? She's Miss Basketball candidate. She's blah, blah, blah." And I remember seeing every Miss Basketball candidate, and just in my head, I said, "Oh, if I could even be on the list for Miss Basketball, that would just make my day." And when my mom told me, I was just so excited. Even if I didn't win or not, that's fine with me, as long as, you know, people take notice. Hey, like, I'm putting in the work, and I just go out there and I'm willing to win. And it's not about me, you know, going out there and saying, I'm going to take every shot I can and try to get 60 points tonight. No, it's about trying to bring wins to your program so you get remembered as state champions or the farthest team to ever make it in Dakota history, which we've done. And I'm just glad that somebody noticed that. So.
It would be quite an accomplishment for sure. What would it mean to you if you were to get that award?
If I was to get that award, I think the first person I would have to say thanks to is my dad, because every time we're in that gym, he said, "Cameron, someone's always watching." And I think that really proves a point to where no matter how hard you work, no matter the little things you do on the bench, whether it's high fives or, you know, picking up another teammate, just to win that award, to me, it's not you're the best basketball player in the state of Michigan. It's you did all the little things to, you know, be noticed by the right people.
Now, the people that you have to worry about are your teammates and making sure that you guys succeed out there on the floor night in and night out. But I don't know if you're like me. Have you been kind of watching the rest of the competition in that field for Miss Basketball?
I have. I know a lot of the girls, so I'm glad I know them personally. I think that it makes it better as a competition to know, hey, I'm glad this person's getting recognition too, and it's kind of fun because you see your AAU teammates on there, and it's not just random people you don't know, and I'm just glad I see people's names on there that actually put in the work and effort and, you know, have dedicated their time to basketball, that it's not just, hey, you know, she's so tall, she, you know, looks like a great player. It's actually people that go out and bust their tails.
I want to talk a little bit now about the passion that you do have for basketball, because you've played outside of high school. You've been on AAU teams. You've been on the Michigan Mystics, and I know a lot of the players that you played with on those teams. Ultimately, did you find the game, or did the game find you?
Well, when I was born, my dad was playing overseas, and he came back and he would play, you know, in tournaments around in Michigan, and then he stopped for a while. And I remember someone came up to him and said, hey, you know, I want to train with you. and basketball was never really something I was interested in. I was kind of just laid back, play around kid. And my dad said, yeah, I'll train you, and he started the Greg Grant basketball. And I remember I just fell in love with it because I would go out, I would watch men's league games, and I could pick out everything, whether it was right or wrong, and I loved it. I could sit there all day. My mom would get me a chair, and I would just watch games of other people playing, and I just fell in love with the game, and I would see one move, and whether it looked good or not, I'd be out there trying it the next day. So I really just found the passion for it, and I think that's why I want to become a coach, is because I see those little things, and just to try to make myself better and make other people better, I just always have that passion for it.
You've mentioned your dad quite a bit. How much of an impact has he had on you throughout this journey in the game of basketball? He's
the number one reason I think I'm playing. A lot of people talk about how it's hard to work with their parents, and of course there's always ups and downs when dad's your coach, but my dad really just lately has shown me how much that he cares for me, and the reason why that he pushes me so hard is because he wants more for me than he had when he was growing up. And if anything, I want to go out there and every game make my dad proud.
You play for Dakota, but how much of playing for him do you take out on the court every night?
It used to be a lot more where it was just I want to impress my dad, but instead it's going out and playing my own game. I think really just makes me play better, and my dad looks at it and says, yes, she's having a great game and she's having fun, and that's what he really wants to see.
In addition to your father, who else has had a huge impact on your career? I know we've got one guy sitting next to us, obviously, who's had a big impact in Coach Phil McCune. How many people have you gotten a chance to connect with and learn from in this game?
Honestly, if there was a number, I honestly could not tell you how many people. I mean, I have trainers that came through my dad's place that have groomed me, and, for example, one of them is Tim Radlick, and he's like my brother to me, being an only child, and I just go out there and we play one-on-one against each other and beat each other up, and, that's something that always keeps me going, and whoever comes to me with the love of basketball, I just love to share that with them, and, we have a real connection just like Coach Phil and I do.
I want to switch gears for a second because you were in a story that aired on Channel 7 just recently. A good friend of mine and of the program, Justin Rose, came out to talk to you recently about a special relationship that you have with your guys' 8th grade team manager. Her name is Tegan Malloy. First off, how did you two meet, and what was the initial conversation like, and how did you guys hit it off?
Well, first, Tegan was looking for an AAU team, and she went to Coach Phil and said, hey, I want to start playing AAU. Do you know anybody that plays AAU? And Coach Phil goes, yeah, Cam is really big into AAU. So as soon as we started talking, I can tell Tegan and I just kind of had a connection. And after that, we just started to hit it off, where Tegan became a little mini Cam, as my teammates call her. And everywhere I went, I'm telling you, Tegan was by my side. And some people, older girls, might say, oh, my gosh, this is so annoying. But I looked at her, I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm finally like I'm a sister, I'm an only child. And I see Tegan, and she just reminded me a lot of when I was growing up. And I just love that about Tegan. Her and I joke around all the time, and we just have a great time together. And when I found out the news about her, I think that just brought us closer together. A lot of people think, Cam, wow, you're really doing a great thing. And I said, it's not because, Tegan's going through a rough time that I'm spending time with her. It's because, I love Tegan as a sister. So.
Now, the rough time that you're referring to is this past summer, she was unfortunately diagnosed with brain cancer. And if she's listening to this, I wish her all the best in that recovery and in her fight. But when you got that news, what went through your mind?
Well, I got the news at first. I'm like, are you sure this is right? Yeah, I didn't think, I thought maybe someone got their facts wrong. And when I heard it, I was actually with one of my friends. I said, look, we're going to go over to her house, as soon as possible, and I'm just going to spend time with her. And when I got over there and spent some time with Tegan, one thing that I knew that she's a strong person was when I got over there and she found out the news, she was happy. If I got that news, I think I would take a couple days for me to just slow down and not be upset, where when I went over there, she was just happy can be to see me and to spend time with me. And I just love that about her, that, yeah, she goes through a lot of rough times, but when she's with people, she always has this great big smile on her face, which is remarkable.
When you found out that she got the news and you saw how she was responding to it, what was your initial approach to her when you found out she was going through this fight?
Well, first, when we got there, she did bring it up to me, and, I looked at her, I said, look, we're going to knock this thing out. It's you and I, and one thing that we got to do is we can't sit here and we can't focus on this problem. We need to, kick it in its butt, and we're going to go out, and we're still going to go out and do fun things together. We're going to go and we're going to spend time together like we usually do. And I think she loved it because, it's something to take her mind off of it that she needs. Any person needs, a positive impact. And Tegan's my positive impact when I go out on the floor. If I'm ever going through something in my mind or it's just a hard workout, I think, if Tegan's battling this, I can do this no problem. So she's really inspired me in my life, and I just hope that I can make a positive impact in hers.
She is clearly determined to win this fight. And when you go out on the court every game, what kind of an impact does she have, not just on you, but the entire team?
Well, one thing was she wasn't feeling good the other day for senior night. And this really just warmed my heart. She texted me and she said, hey, look, I'm not feeling good, and I just wanted to let you know that I love you and you're going to kick butt tonight and you're like my big sister. And when I saw that, a part of me wanted to cry, but the other part is like, you know what, I'm going to go out tonight, and deep down I'm playing for Tegan, and I love her in every spot of my heart. I really do. And I texted her back and I said, of course I'm going to win this for you, little sis. So I can't say anything, but she's just always been there for me, and I'm always going to be there for her.
And then you go out and you have that monster night for her. So even with all the other emotions that you were going through, what was it like to know that you could dedicate that performance to her?
It just made me happy as a whole. It's kind of like telling Tegan, look at what we're doing. We're not just sitting here and letting things bother you. We're going out and we're beating this fight together. And even if she feels bad, I call her, and we just kind of celebrate together when all these things happen. So
we have talked so many times in this interview about how you have had a huge impact on Macomb Area Conference basketball. But in terms of this relationship that you have with Tegan, and after seeing the video on Channel 7 and reading some of the comments from her family on social media, it's very obvious that you're having a huge impact on this young woman's life. And you're a young woman yourself. And so what is it like to know that you are already having an impact on her and so many other young women out there?
Honestly, I think that's the true goal of being any sports player, is to go out and inspire somebody else. I can remember so many players when I would watch when I was little, I said, oh my gosh, she's my favorite player. I can go out and I just want to be like her. Or, I love Kevin Durant. I love these people, and they inspire me to do better things. And I always wanted to go, even if it was in college, and have at least one fan out there that goes, picks up a basketball and shoots it and says, oh my gosh, I'm like Cam Grant. That's always what I wanted. And whether I get that or not, at least I inspire somebody. And, whether that be a little girl wanting to pick up a basketball, I just hope that one day someone has that feeling.
So looking ahead to this fall, you're headed to Ball State. That was one of 25 different schools that you were looking at. My alma mater, Indiana State University, also called, but you decided to go with Ball State, and I won't take offense to that. But what was it about Ball State that drew you in?
Ball State was one of my last schools I was looking at, and it was kind of rare to us because in our mind we kind of had things all picked out. And I moved AAU teams to Indiana coach, and he said, you know what, you're going to really want to look at Ball State. And we're like, okay, well, let's do it. We go down there, and Coach Brady reminded me a lot of my family. I could just tell the way he coaches is if you wanted to be the MAC Player of the Year, he'll coach you to be the MAC Player of the Year. And that's what I want. Is I want someone to push me to become that player that can be outstanding and just support their team to go to the NCAA tournament. That's my goal going in to Ball State, is to take them to the first NCAA tournament as a team. And I really hope that when I get down there I can make that happen. But I talked to tons of college coaches on the phone, and I say, one thing I'm looking for is a family atmosphere. And they say, oh, yeah, of course, we got the family atmosphere. And you go down there, and it's like, okay, coach, I don't know if you really do. And when I went down to Ball State, all the girls, they had dinner together. And after they had dinner, they all sat together, no matter where they went. If one person got up, moved over there, they came right back. And it was unbelievable to see that all the girls loved each other as much as these girls did.
And something else that you'll have an opportunity to do when you're in the MAC is go up against a lot of those same players that you grew up with. You're going to see the Molly Davises and so many others that are now playing within the Mid-American Conference teams. What's it going to be like to compete with them at the college level?
Right. One thing that I definitely notice is, for example, like Molly Davis is, I watch her on TV now, and I'm like, go Molly, and I'm like, oh my gosh, stop, you're a Ball State fan now, stop. And it's funny because when I go out there, it's kind of going to be like old times, and I'm just excited to go out and see what it's like, because I think college is definitely a different ball game, and I just can't wait to have that fire for,
Okay, you're Ball State now. Go ahead and do the little fight call.
Chirp, chirp.
There you go. I heard you talk earlier that you said you wanted to be a coach. What exactly are you hoping to do with that? Are you looking to coach high school, or what level would you like to do that? And are you necessarily looking at coaching girls basketball, or would you be open to coaching men too? Because as we've seen recently, that line is starting to get blurred.
One thing is definitely college basketball, and at first I would love to be a part of even Ball State. If I could stay an extra year, I'd love to do that, or to go somewhere else and just be a part of the programs, because I just think that recruiting younger players, I have a good feel for people and players that really want to work hard, and I love the game, and there's never one time where I said I'm sick of this, and I absolutely love it. And to think that now that women are able to coach men's basketball is something that I would love to do. I would love to be the first women's coach to go out and, help coach an NBA team or do something crazy like that, and always be remembered for it.
Before you do all that, you still have some time here at Dakota and still some time with Coach Phil. Looking at where you guys are right now, the Cougars are 16-4. Now, you've had a few setbacks in the past couple of weeks against Grosse Pointe South and Port Huron. And just looking at the schedule that you guys have had overall, how would you say you guys are mentally prepared as you head into the districts next week?
Yeah, I look at all those 4 losses, and one thing that I've noticed is it's been by a possession. It's been by 3 points. It's been by 4 points. It's not where we get blown out of the water. We are in the game, when we played against Port Huron, for example, it was one of our best offensive games that we've played against a team. And I think that when we're a younger team, so when we go out and we play these teams again, we have experience now to where we need to know that we need to go out and get extra points and not let the extra possession determine the game for us. And I think that with those games that we lost, we definitely took a step in the right direction, because now we know what we have to do for these big games.
Got one big game coming up against the Anchor Bay Tars. What do you know about them, and how do you match up with them?
Well, I know Anchor Bay is a really great three-point shooting team, and I'm just excited to play a great three-point shooting team, because I feel like there's a lot more quick guards now that like to drive to the basket, and I just want to get that game underway, and I feel like we can definitely go out there and defensively stop them, no doubt.
Now, one of the things I asked Maddie Volker last month, you don't get to choose how this will all end when you play high school basketball. It could end a million different ways. Mm-hmm. But if you could write the final chapter for Cam Grant at Dakota High School, how would you write that?
That's a good question. One thing that I would say is, at the end of this, one team always comes out happy, just one team. And whether that be Dakota or not, one thing that I want as a team captain and as a leader is that to be remembered at Dakota, not for as much wins or as for the block shot record. I want to be remembered as someone that you can always come and talk to, and your big sister that if you need help, I'll be there for you. And I just really hope that by the end of this, people remember me as a person that goes out and helps others and just does the right thing, not on the basketball court, but out in life. And I just want to inspire other girls to go out and play the game, because I know right now there's kind of a shortage in the basketball world for young basketball girl players. So I just want to go out there and make a difference, I think.
Well, you've already got one young lady that's already
true,
looking up
right.
to you, and within a year or two, they're going to be looking up to you in the hallways as well. You've got so many accolades that are coming your way, and you have earned all of them. Cam Grant, thank you so much for making the time this week on a Duff Set, and best of luck next week in districts.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
She's getting a hand from her head coach. Coming up, where does Cam rank among the best players to put on a Dakota uniform? That question gets answered by Cougars head coach Phil McCune. That's a Duff Set. Want to get my takes on sports here in the state of Michigan? Well, that's easy. All you got to do is go to my Facebook page, sports journalist Duff Tyler. You can also find me on Twitter. I have the handle at DUFFTYLER. And you can also listen to previous episodes of A Duff Said. Just go to my website, dufftyler.podbean.com. Phil McCune is in his 15th season as the head coach of the Dakota girls basketball team. I sat down with him to talk about the impact Cam Grant has had on the Cougars. There was something in your mind that said, this girl is going to be a starter on my team as a freshman. What was it about her game that you saw that told you this kid had what it took to be a starter right away?
Well, I think when she was a freshman, she really excelled at the defensive side of the ball. I mean, she blocked a lot of shots even as a freshman. We were a pretty good team at that time, and we had a lot of scorers. So it kind of took some of the pressure off Cam to not have to score all the time. And she just fit in like a glove. She was a perfect person for us at that time to help us become a very successful team.
Now, could you ever have imagined that in her first year with the Cougars that she would have the success that she's had and then become one of the top players in your conference?
Yeah, I saw it from the beginning. Like I think Cam mentioned before, I would go to her dad's facilities with our team, was playing there during summer leagues and things like that. And I saw Cam out there playing, and when I saw her play, she was doing extraordinary things as a 7th and 8th grader. I thought at that point she's going to be a very good high school player. At that time, obviously, I had no idea she was coming to Dakota. We're extremely happy to have her. One thing that I really love about Cam is she plays against the guys, and she plays like a guy out there. And she doesn't just settle. She wants to get better every day. And I think that's been a big part of her success.
She goes out on senior night, and it's an emotional evening. She's playing for her friend, and she's playing for her parents and you and everybody else. And she goes out and has a game for the ages. 21 points, 22 rebounds. That tied the school record. That's just the perfect way to play on your final home game at the high school level. Aside from the stats for a second, how thrilled were you just to see her turn in that kind of a performance?
I was really happy. We needed it. We were coming off of 2 tough losses, and it was a perfect time to play that game for us and to get our confidence back before districts. And as far as Cam's stats go, I think after you spoke with Cam, you understand Cam's not about stats, and she's all about the team. And the team, and I think she'd be the first one to say this, is the reason she had the 21 points and 22 rebounds. They did the little things to help her get those numbers and to help us be successful. The other senior on her team, Dina Moyer, not a big scorer, but she had just a wonderful night herself. with just doing the little things, settling our team down and making the extra pass and getting the rebounds. That's that was a key, and then that kind of just filtered into Cam's success, I think.
I saw on Twitter that you called them the dynamic duo of Dakota. What was it like just to see those two out on the court for the final time at Dakota High School? Just from a standpoint of, you've been with these girls for a number of years now. What were your thoughts and emotions as that night just went on?
The biggest thing I think is I got to see Cam and Dina grow up as young girls to young ladies, and to see where they're at now from where they were 4 years ago, it was very emotional for me. Inside, I don't always show my emotions outside. I'm a typical guy, but it's tough because both of them brought a lot to our program, and I've told Cam several times that can't you come back another year? She's just a wonderful young lady. We're blessed to have her, and Dina, and it's a tough time to say goodbye. But then the good thing is we have so much to look forward to going into districts here. So,
to Cam, you are Coach Phil. She called you that a number of times during the interview. What has the relationship between the two of you been like these last 4 years, and what was that initial meeting like?
Interesting. I think I hope you'd have to ask Cam this question, but I hope I've been a good support system for her when she needs to just kind of come to somebody and talk. We've had several conversations of just sitting down and maybe just her venting about life or about basketball, about school. I always wanted to be that person for her that could be there for her when she needs somebody to talk to. I hope she feels that way. I kind of looked at her like one of my own daughters. My own daughter in 8th grade I told her this before, she looked identical to Cam in the 8th grade. And, there's so many similarities. And, I put a lot of effort into our kids here. And I love my kids, and not just as basketball players, but just people in general. So.
And like I was talking to her about this, when I came in, I saw so many of the players that you have coached here at Dakota, many of whom that have won all-state status, have been Macomb County Player of the Year at certain points during your tenure here. Where does Cam rank among all those players?
Right at the top. I mean, we've like you said, we've had several recently. Without her ankle injury last year, there's no doubt she would have been right at the top. It's as far as one of the best juniors in the state. So this year, we've gone through 20 games with pretty much healthy, and hopefully we'll continue that route. And we'll definitely get that plaque on the wall for her. She deserves every bit of it. So.
Like we talked about with her, she engineered one of the best 4-year runs that this entire program has had in its history. And that's something that a lot of those other players never got to accomplish in terms of the 66 wins that you guys have collected in her tenure here. But like you also touched on, she did miss some time last year because of the ankle injury. How tough was it for you just to see her go through that?
It was difficult because, I went through my own ankle injuries when I was in high school and college. So, I know what she was going through. I think we lost her for 11 games last year. And, obviously I was sitting there wondering how long is this going to take. I know they told her initially she was out for the year, but I just know Cam and her dad and her mom, they weren't just going to let that happen. So, it was kind of a surprise they threw at us at the very end of the season. She was able to go. And, it was made all the difference in the world. Unfortunately, like Cam said, we had some injuries that happened, other injuries that kind of set us back. But, without Cam, obviously we went in a tailspin last year. I think we lost 5 or 6 games in a row. We just had to believe last year. The other girls had to believe they could do it without Cam, and we finally got to that point when Cam joined us. We were on a roll, and then the injury set in again.
Even though you went through all that, and it was difficult to see all those things that came with the ankle injury, just knowing how determined she was to bounce back, what was that like, and how inspiring was that for you to just see that unfold?
Yeah, it was crazy because the day first day she came back for practice, I'm sitting there watching her. It was like, did she really have an ankle injury? I don't know what kind of work she put in, or her dad. I know, like I said, I know her dad worked with her a lot. But when you tear every ligament in your ankle, most of the time you don't come back, 100%. She came back 100% and even better. So it was incredible to see, and it really lifted me and the team up.
And now you guys have had like your own bounce back season this year. You guys are 16-4, and throughout the year, a lot of publications throughout the state have started to list Cam among the elite players in the state, and her name has now been tossed out for Miss Basketball in the state of Michigan. What's it like just to hear her name mentioned among those players?
It's very special because Cam's the first player that's come through the system here at Dakota to even be considered for Miss Basketball. So it's quite an honor to have an athlete like that in our program. But when you see her work ethic and what she does, it doesn't surprise me. She's just fully dedicated to basketball, and that's what you need. And that's why we've been successful for 4 years. When you have kids like that put the effort in, you can't help but to be successful. So.
There are a lot of talented players in that list right now for Miss Basketball, and I've even had the privilege to see a lot of them play, and they're very good. Mm-hmm. But if you could make a case right now for Cam, what would that be?
She's an all-around team player. One thing that people don't see, you can look at the stats, the points, the rebounds, but she leads us in assists too. She leads us in block shots too. All these little things that people don't always see, that's what makes Cam. That's why we are where we're at. If you really look at the whole picture, you take Cam out of the equation, there's a lot to get picked up by other people. So, it's been a major reason why we've been successful this year. There's been many times she's had 7, 8, 9 assists in a game. And for somebody that's playing, in the post to be able to do that, it's great. She's getting double, tripled, sometimes quadruple teamed, and she doesn't look to force things. She gets other people the ball, and we've talked about it through the years, and it's really special to watch her get her teammates involved. It's all about team. It is, and she understands that.
Speaking of team, Dakota, like we said, 16-4 this year, and you're among the top 20 teams in Division I this year. You just wrapped up the regular season, and you had a great regular season except for 3 losses to Grosse Pointe South and 1 to Port Huron. But overall, how would you assess that portion of the schedule and where this team is right now heading into districts next week?
Funny you ask. We went into the season with 6 sophomores, and 2 that just played freshman basketball, never played JV, and then Ella Berger, who played with us last year, who's having a phenomenal season this year too, and then 3 other girls that played JV last year. So have a lot of our sophomores do are major players for us, and we knew it was going to take time, but to sit here right now and say we're 16-4 with the youthfulness that we have, and to put a lot of the burden on our better players like Cam and Ella, Dina, they've just stepped up, and I know we've had a couple tough losses, and 3 of the losses were within 10 points. And they were all 1-possession games. We had a chance in the Port Huron game, had a chance to win it twice at the end. And, they're just learning experiences, like Cam said earlier, to just get us ready for districts. Because we know It would have been nice to win the MAC Red championship. Would have been nice to win the tournament. But our fight, our gold medal is the district right now. So, we know we're in the toughest district in the state, I believe. When you look at it, Port Huron's a 3 seed, basically at 20-0. If that doesn't say anything, nothing does. And, it's going to be a test, and I really believe that we're going to do well.
You guys take on Anchor Bay. How much do you know about the Tars, and what kind of test are you expecting from them?
I've seen them a few times this year. They're, like Cam mentioned earlier, they're a good three-point shooting team. They've got a all-around guard. I call her guard/forward, Genevieve Decker, who is one of the best players in Macomb County. She's kind of similar to Cam in a lot of ways. She's a playmaker as a big, and then everybody kind of feeds off of her. They got the two 3-point shooters that can hit them at any time. So we have to make sure that we don't give them any confidence. They're a very good team, and we know it, and we'll be ready for them.
Players obviously come and go when you're a coach, and like we talked about, there's a lot of them that are up on the wall in the hallway in the Dakota Hall of Fame, and that's just part of the job. You always know that going in, that you can't coach them forever. I know you said you tried to see if you could get her that 5th-year eligibility. That just didn't work out. Ball State would have something to say about that, obviously. They've already signed the letter of intent and the commitment. They're set to have her come on campus this fall. But given what Cam has meant to this program and what she's meant to you as a player and as a friend, what kind of ending would you like to see for her as she prepares to head to Ball State this fall?
I want to see her. I want to see her get through as many games as possible in the playoffs, to where she comes off the floor. Like Cam said, there's only one team that's going to come off the floor happy at the end of the Division I. And wherever we end up going, I'd love to see her come off the floor with a big smile on her face and, I gave everything I had. And that's all I can ask for as a coach. I've always said that to the girls. If we give everything we got, that's all I can ask for. So hopefully our goals is we have high goals like we did during the season, and we expect to do well. So
I hope you get to see that smile at the end of the season, especially you, Cam. I hope you get to see that later this year. So thank you so much for making the time this week. I really enjoyed the time that I got to spend with you and Cam this week. Thank you for being my guest. It's always a pleasure. He is Phil McCune, the head basketball coach at Dakota High School. Coach, thank you so much for making the time this week. It was a pleasure to have this conversation.
All right, thank you.
Up next, Cam is going on to play college basketball at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. Being a native Hoosier myself, I'm about to see how well Cam knows the Hoosier State. If this was your first time listening to A Duff Said, thank you so much for hitting the play button. Now how about you go to my website, dufftyler.podbean.com, and check out some of our previous episodes.
I was going into the game thinking, why should we lose? Other than the reason that they're beater, why should we lose? So to everyone else, yeah, you're underdogs, but to me, and I think to most of the guys on the team, we're probably thinking, we should probably win the game.
This game of basketball, it's just a game. It is really just a game. What we have here is more important.
So to me, relationships are far more important in the world that we live in today, instead of that trophy that's going to be in a trophy case, that's going to collect dust, and it's going to be 50 years old, and you know what? It doesn't matter anymore.
They're all available to you right now at dufftyler.podbean.com. And that's A Duff Said. For the next 4 years, you're going to be an adopted Hoosier. Welcome to the Hoosier State. I am myself a lifelong Hoosier, so it is good to have you coming to the state of Indiana. You're going to be attending Ball State University, But before you can become a Hoosier, I want to give you a quick Hoosier quiz.
Okay.
Here's your first question.
All right.
What's a Hoosier?
It is someone that lives in Indiana.
You know what the correct answer is?
No, I don't.
We don't know.
Oh,
no
gosh.
one knows what that means. So
Oh.
there is no wrong answer
Well,
there.
then that was the right one.
Exactly.
I stand by it.
So you're going to be attending Ball State University. What famous late night talk show host went to college at Ball State University?
Oh! I remember someone telling me this too. That's so bad. David Letterman?
Yes. You are correct.
Yes, I knew it.
Now, I myself went to Indiana State University. What legendary NBA basketball player went to Indiana State University?
Larry Bird.
There you go. You're already 3 for 3.
Okay.
Now, coming up in May, there's going to be a huge event that takes place in Indianapolis on Memorial Day weekend. What is that event?
Cinco de Mayo. It's in May, so I don't know.
You're right, but you're a little off on the date. It's Memorial Day weekend. It is the Indianapolis 500.
Woo! Coach
Now
Brady,
this-
I'm sorry. If you see this, it's so bad.
Okay, last question for
Okay.
you. There's a famous vegetable that we like to go hunting for in the woods. Guess that vegetable.
I don't know. Hunting for vegetables.
Think pizza topping.
I was gonna say mushroom. Is that
That
right?
is correct.
Okay.
And lastly, this is a bonus question.
Okay.
What sandwich are Hoosiers famous for?
What?
Think pork.
A pulled pork sandwich?
Close. It is a pork tenderloin sandwich.
Oh, I would have never
You were,
got that.
let's see, I think you were 4 out of 5 there, so that's not bad.
No.
Welcome to the Hoosier State.
Oh, thank you. I need to learn better, but I'll get there.
You are one of us now, Cam. Welcome to the Hoosier State. Many thanks to Cam Grant and Phil McCune of the Dakota girls basketball team for coming on board this week. Good luck to the Cougars and all the teams that are taking part in the state playoffs in girls basketball beginning Monday in the state of Michigan. And all the best to the Cougars manager, Tegan Malloy. Tegan, no one fights alone in the battle against cancer. Myself and everyone listening to this podcast, we all have your back, and we are definitely rooting for you. That's a wrap on this week's show. Episode 28 is coming real soon. Wherever you listen to podcasts, be sure to become a subscriber to A Duff Said. You can also become a subscriber to this podcast by going to my YouTube page, Duff Tyler. Until next time, this is Duff Tyler reminding you that if Duff said it, it must be true, because that's what a Duff said.